Hey guys, so I have something that happened yesterday. It was day before yesterday, and I really have felt led to share it. So I'm going to share it, and it was just a reminder to me. But there is somebody that needs to hear it, so I'm putting it out there. And so we know the times that we live in. Everybody seems to be stressed out, and they are worried about money and worried about this and worried about what's going on over here. And we live in a very interesting time, and so I realize the world is kind of full of all of this going on. We see things on the internet and just the fighting and the arguing and just the constant killing, stealing, and destroying, right? What the enemy is trying to do. On the other side of it, I also see the remnant. I also see the church, the real, what God, the power, what he meant. I see that rising up. Okay. I do see it. And I can, in the chaff and the wheat, it is being separated right now before our eyes. So it's pretty incredible. So I'm very well aware of all of that. And you know, and sometimes for people, I will call this my ministry. I'm like, what I do with business, I help. I often ask, like, why did you put me into the pit of the belly of the beast, of the money system? And he's basically, well, because it's a very dark place and it needs some light. And I need people go in there and help people who don't even know they need help and go save some people. So I said, I'm your girl. That's what I'm here for. So, but in that, sometimes, when we talk about what we do, what we get to do for, whether it's a ministry, whether it's a business, whether it's a job or everything like that, sometimes we forget that that's actually God's placed us in those positions for it to be our ministry. We are the church, right? We get to take that with us. And so the other day I had something happen, and I just want to share the power that we hold, and never, ever forget who is in you, who you carry around, who you are, who you're meant to be. And so I had to leave my office, and my son had an appointment, so I was going to take him to the appointment. And so I was it was about an hour and a half away. And because I'm in my office a lot of time, I do everything through Zoom. When I get out, I'm very well aware to be observant and, to keep my eyes peeled for things like that, because I'm not naive either. And we were going, just having a conversation, and we passed by a fast food restaurant, Taco Bell, and it was closer to lunch. I was like, hey, do you happen to be hungry? And he's like, no, I'm not really hungry. Definitely not for Taco Bell. We were just kind of making a joke. And I said, well, it's a good thing it's not Taco Bueno. I said, that'd be a whole nother story, right? And we were kind of laughing about it because Taco Bueno was like, better. Although now, if I'm gonna get Mexican food, I mean, I want real Mexican food, but I digress. So we just made the comment, kept going, and got to the appointment, dropped him off. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go try to find some internet. So maybe I can get on the internet, do a little work while I'm waiting, move my business forward, reach out to some people. And as I was driving looking for a place, lo and behold, I see a sign for Taco Bueno. And I just thought that was funny. I was like, well, that's kind of weird because I'm not like in a city. I'm not in like a big city, not in my little town anymore either. But I just thought that was funny. But then I heard that unction, that knowing. I heard the voice that I've come to know. And he basically told me, the Holy Spirit was like, you're going to Taco Bell today. And my flesh and my thing, I'm like, I'm not hungry for Taco Bell. I don't really want Taco Bell. If I'm gonna go sit down, I'm gonna go have some chips and salsa and some good Mexican food. But I knew that I was going to Taco Bell for not to eat necessarily, but I was going to Taco Bell. So I pull in, and we're not in the best part of this town. And you can tell, y'all know that there's just a vibe and energy. You can just, the spiritual atmosphere. And so I pull in and I walk in the door. I can still feel that spiritual atmosphere. I know it's just not a good feeling, but I'm being very aware of why I'm there. I'm being sent. So I'm looking around thinking, okay, Lord, who is it? Who am I here for? Because I've gone places before and prayed for people before and had things happen. So I was expecting. So I walked in and I saw the people. There's a couple of older people had already gotten their food, nothing much going on. And there were two people working in the store, one behind doing all the food. And there was one lady in the front. She was actually running the register, the front walk-ins, as well as the drive-through. And she seemed very stressed out. And she was, you could just tell it was written all over her, the way her mannerisms. And so anyway, I'm like, okay. Um, so I just kind of, I'm like, well, what am I going to get? I'm not even hungry. I'm like, well, I'll order a taco, right? And so I'm waiting patiently because obviously she's busy. Finally, she comes to take my order. But she's very short and very, not even looking at me. She's got her headphones on, and I can tell she's actually taking the orders through the drive-through because she kind of put her hand up to stop me from talking. I was like, okay, I'll wait. So finally got my order in, and I just stepped to the side because I knew it was going to be a minute. They had a long line out not inside, out the door, out the drive-through, which is I could do a whole nother message on people not getting out of their cars anymore. But anyway, I go to the side and I'm just waiting at this high table right by the door. And it gives me a view of kind of everybody in there, and I can still see outside. So I have this like 360 kind of view. And I'm just like, okay, Lord, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? And all of a sudden, I start hearing very loud voices arguing, cussing, just carrying on. And so I look over, and the lady that was behind the counter and a customer that I didn't even realize had walked in the door were standing. It was a guy, and you could tell he was pretty rough, probably 40-ish years old. I don't know, big guy. She was a big lady. She's a big girl. And they are going at it. Well, at first he wasn't, but she was cussing him out, yelling, I mean, loud. It was one of those things, y'all have all seen the videos on the internet where there's a yelling match between customers and the people that work in the store. That's what was going on. And it started escalating to the point where now the guy is they're going to fight. I mean, that's kind of what's into, and I'm looking around and I'm like, all right, Lord, what do you want me to do? Because physically, I am not physically able to stop this. I knew me saying something was probably, they probably both turn on me, right? Because it had escalated to that point. We call it getting into your Amy, because I know for me, it's like, when your amygdala is triggered and you can't think straight and you just start reacting instead of responding. And so that's what was going on with these two. Now, I'm not scared for my safety, but it was one of those situations that you could probably feel that way because you knew that there was something imminent about to happen. It had gone overboard. And so I'm standing there and I'm like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do now? What is it that you want me to do? Well, by this time, the lady has come out from behind the counter around by me. The guy is standing there and I'm like, they're going to sit here and like fight right here. Am I supposed to throw myself in between? Like, what am I doing here? Well, he goes out the door and she goes out the door. And as she's walking by, she has her headsets on and she grabs them off her head and just flings them kind of at me. And they hit me and they hit the table and they kind of land on top of my phone that was sitting there. And as they start to walk out the door, the Lord was like, you know what to do. And so I just closed my eyes and I just started praying. And I immediately called peace. I just said that, Holy Spirit, bring your peace into the situation. And I can still hear them as they're out the door, this glass door, screaming at the top of their lungs at each other, going at it. They're going to fight. They're like threatening each other. And I just said, peace. Holy Spirit, come right now into this parking lot. Come right now and descend upon them. Peace. And as I was saying it and as I was praying and I turned to look out the window because like I said, I had a 360. So I'm going to look out the window, just keep an eye on things. y'all, I don't even know how to explain this. Like, it doesn't make natural sense what happened, but I'm just going to describe to you. On this, they're out the door screaming, yelling. They're literally going to fist fight. And by the time I got around this way, it took me off guard because the man is standing there weeping. She's standing there, kind of with her head down and listening. And next thing I know, they shake hands. They're just like there was a piece that like immediately came on there. And it was so weird because that usually the de-escalation takes a minute. It takes time for your emotions to calm down, even if you're like, okay, calm down, calm down. It usually takes a minute to come down from that stuff, right? Your adrenaline's pumping, all of that stuff. Y'all, it was like 1 minute. I can't even describe it. But anyhow, I'm watching it and I'm like, whoa. Of course, I don't know why I'm surprised because, that's the Holy Spirit. And they're standing there talking for a few minutes, and I can tell this man is just crying. And so a few minutes later, like I don't know how long they were, and the poor lady at the counter, she's still trying to get orders out, right? And now she's having to do all of it while all this is going on. And just a few minutes later, the lady come walking back in, and the Lord said, she needs a hug. Okay. So as she comes in, y'all, I didn't even ask her. I just walked over and I put my arms around her. And so we got big black woman and this like blonde chick sitting in the door of the Taco Bueno. And we were just loving and hugging on one another. And I don't know how long we stayed there. I don't know how long I really don't. I just was speaking over her, whatever the Holy Spirit was saying for me to tell her. And finally it let up and she let go and I let go. And she was like, I really needed that. Thank you. And she grabbed her headset. She went back around the counter and the other lady was like, here's your taco. And so I take my taco, my drink, and I left. And the thing is I don't know what was going on in her life. I don't know what was going on in that man's life. I know what the enemy was trying to do. I know where it could have been really bad. But I know that I'm learning to listen to the Holy Spirit because it wasn't me that shifted it. It was what I brought with me and what happened in that moment where the Holy Spirit could actually work and in their lives. And so I, again, have no idea. What's going to happen from that. That is none of my business. My business is that I listened and I went somewhere. So just a reminder, we are the church. We take ourselves into situations, whether it's our schools or our jobs or the Dollar Tree or the Walmart or the Taco Bueno or wherever it is. We take who we are in. And the more and more you know who you are, the more and more you can take of the kingdom wherever you go. So to me, it was just a reminder. I don't have to stand behind a pulpit to have a ministry, although it's wonderful to be able to do that. And I've been honored to do that many times. My business is definitely my ministry, being able to help people with that. All of the things that I get to do, but it's in the day-to-day living life that we take ourselves into it. So just a reminder for you, get to know the Lord. Everybody says, I want to be used. Well, you can be used. You can be used in your church. You can, to volunteer and missionary and mission trips, and all of those things are wonderful and we should. But why not be used on the everyday, mundane things that we get to go do life with at the gas station and at the grocery store? Let's be that. Let's be the church in everything that we go into. All right. So whoever that was for, I'm praying for you. I bless you. And I hope that you get to have an opportunity to take the church with you today and bless somebody today. All right. Y'all have a great day.